We are live. So John Lee Dumas is here. I'm going to kick us off with the intro music, and then we will be right back with John Lee Dumas talking about our Uncommon Success book. Here we go.
This podcast is for the sales professionals at every level. If you want to convert more prospects into paying customers, then you're in the right place. Because Joe has spent the last 3 decades mastering buying behaviors, personality types, emotional and logical triggers. This is the Sales Genius Podcast. It's only a numbers game if you want educated. It's time to get educated. Let's go. Educated. Want to learn how to close deals. Want to learn how to sell more. That's what we're here for at Sales Genius. Let's go.
Fantastic. We're back. See, did we get the blood pumping? We're moving. So fantastic. So I want to welcome to everybody who's out there watching Sales Genius Podcast live and go through. I am thoroughly excited today to bring to you John Lee Dumas. Okay. JLD, as we like to call him in the world. Why? Because it fits better on the screen. Okay.
Is that why? I was always wondering. Is that the reason?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so much easier because we just got to make it easy for everybody. Because when we get complicated, then what happens to the world, right?
Hey, listen, if my parents were smart enough to give me a 3-letter name, I'd be good to go. But unfortunately, they're only 4 letters, and I've never forgiven them.
Yeah, I tell them all the time, like mine, 1 syllable, 3 letters, I'm golden. So, John Lee Dumas, you are the founder and the host of the Entrepreneur on Fire podcast with 100 million listens that are on there. You got 3,000 episodes, but it's basically the who's who of entrepreneurship comes out and talks to you. So you have to be the most brilliant entrepreneur in the world.
I'm not going to disagree with that in any way, shape, or form, but it's only because I've interviewed 3,000 of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, and I've listened to them. I've listened to what they're sharing. I've downloaded their genius into this tiny little brain of mine until it finally expanded to a decent level. And guess what? Now I actually have a little bit of knowledge. Now I've been running my own successful business for the past 8 years to the tune of multiple millions of dollars a year. In fact, 91 months in a row, net profit of over $100,000 a month for 91 months. So this didn't come from this tiny little pea brain. You know, I was off the U.S. Army. I was a grunt. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew how to point and shoot. But guess what? By surrounding yourself with the right people, you become an average of those 5 people you spend the most time with. I'm hanging out with the world's most exciting, enthusiastic, interesting, intelligent entrepreneurs on a daily basis. Some of it had to rub off on me after a while, Joe.
Yeah, fantastic. But again, the answer is what? Seek the information. It's out there. You provided a platform for them to come out and express. And what I've noticed is just about every entrepreneur that's out there, right, wants to help the next entrepreneur to get at least through some of the side steps. I always say that sales itself is like a landmine, and we should probably walk where the steps are and we can get through there. But we are starting off today. So we got some people coming out.
What up, Bill?
Bill is here. We got Larry out there. Lee Duke is out, even on vacation. That's there. Renee also said you're a big deal. So we got credit for that.
Renee, if you think I'm a big deal, I'm done. I'm walking off into the sunset, brother.
Yes. Ken Walls, this is another buddy.
Ken's the man.
Yeah, Ken, we need to get you on there and make sure. But and Edna is clapping for you. So I will try to stay as focused as I can on what we do. And the thing I want to talk about is you have a book that's coming out, right? But one of the things, before I get into the book, because I want to tease everybody, but one of the things you quoted as saying, which I thought was amazing, and especially for people that are going to be in the entrepreneur space, was your avatar is the North Star to guide you along your journey. Can you touch on that enough? Because I know there's a lot of people that don't understand what is the avatar of my business, what is the person that I'm trying for, but especially in the sales world.
So this is a 17-step roadmap to your financial freedom and fulfillment. That's why the book is called The Common Path to Uncommon Success. Because as much as Joe and myself would like you to think we're geniuses, we're just normal people. I mean, Joe has some genius tendencies, of course, but at the end of the day, we're common people who have been on a common path, but we have achieved uncommon flippin' success as a result. How do we do this? Well, I've interviewed 3,000 people to understand exactly how we do this. And you touched upon step 3 of this roadmap. Step 1, step 2, step 3 is creating your avatar. Your avatar is the perfect customer, client, like the perfect listener of your podcast, viewer of your show, consumer of your content. Who is that person for you? So few people would have a good idea of who their avatar is. They'll give you some vague, broad, oh yeah, my avatar are men between the ages of 35 and 55 who drink beer on the weekends and play football and love the NFL. Like, that's not an avatar. That is barely like a targeted demographic. Like, your avatar is one single person, a absolute single person that you have sat down, that you have conjured up on a piece of paper, minimum 500 words, preferably 2,000 words. And you know this person inside and out. My avatar for my podcast is Jimmy. I could tell you a 30-minute story about Jimmy, his wife, his 2 kids, ages 3 and 5, his 25-minute commute to work. I could tell you everything about Jimmy, which is why whenever I come to a fork in the road for my business where I have a question about what I'm going to do next, Jimmy tells me what to do. Not me. I'm not the perfect listener of my podcast. Right. I've been running a multi-million-dollar a year business for 8 years. I have over 100 million listens of my podcast. I'm not the perfect listener of Entrepreneurs on Fire, but Jimmy is. So Jimmy guides my ship. He is my North Star, nobody else. And unless you have the correct North Star, your ship is going to crash on rocks and sink to the bottom of the ocean. Done.
And again, I hope everybody can understand exactly the importance that's there. Right now, I wrote down 2,000 words. Because mine is not 2,000 words.
Nobody's is. Listen, people like to nod. They like to be like, yeah, no, I get it. I understand Avatar. And then they go home and they watch Netflix and, you know, they play an app on their phone and they scroll through Instagram. And then they wonder why they're only making $100,000 a year, or they're only making, you know, whatever they're making. And they know they could be doing 5, 10, 20x because you don't know your avatar, period.
Fantastic. So everyone's out sharing.
I saw that. You're the best. What's up, Lynn?
Yes. So Amy Lee's excited that you're out here. Dr. Amy Rucker. I mean, everybody's jumping in. It's like your name is magic. I'm pulling it. I'm pulling the crowd.
It's magic.
Do you know?
Wow. Yeah. I did not know I was going to cue that one out. That was impressive. Yeah.
That we're going to roll.
You hit a note about 6 levels higher than I would have thought you capable of.
Yes. Well, you know, I'm about surprising people, keeping it that way. So, John, so here's one of the things that, to me, right, I know now I talked with, I had dinner with Scott Duffy. Scott Duffy sits down, tells me the issue entrepreneurs have is that we grab a hammer and a nail and we start hitting it. And then we go, ooh, another hammer, another nail. I can do 2 things. That would be great. Boom, boom, boom. Then we go, oh, 3, 4. Now you're trying to hold 4 or 5 hammers and try to hammer the nails, which leads us to fail. So when I look at it, I want to ask you, because you've got 3,000 interviews, but why is it that all the entrepreneurs that start something don't ever make it to where they are? And it's an alarming percentage of the ones that aren't making it past 2 or 3 years.
I want to tell Scott that he has a good analogy. I actually have a better one.
Perfect.
My analogy is, listen, so many entrepreneurs, and I've seen it for a decade now, try to go 1 mile wide. They try to go 1 mile wide and they just go 1 inch deep on all these little things. And they're making these 1 little inch impressions because they're trying this, they're tasting that, they're doing all these little things. And they wonder why they're not making any impact. They wonder why they're not getting any traction. The entrepreneurs who win, and again, I've now interviewed over 3,000 of the world's most successful entrepreneurs. So I know for a fact what successful entrepreneurs do to win. I know what unsuccessful entrepreneurs do to continuously fail. Successful entrepreneurs say, I'm going to go 1 inch wide and I'm going to go 1 mile deep. And I'm going to become, and this is the sentence I need you to just hold your breath and listen to, the best solution to a real problem. If you can become the best solution to a real problem, you will win. If you are the second best solution to a real problem, you will be ignored. So why would you want to do anything except be the best solution to a real problem? Because Joe, it's so fun when you're the best solution to a real problem, because then people beat a flipping path down to your doorstep. Why? Because people want the best solution to a real problem that they have. They don't want the second best solution or the 10th best solution. They want the best solution to a real problem. Let's rewind. What happened back in 2012? What happens? I said, I want to start a podcast. That is a broad, vague, and overall generally bad idea, because that's just such a big idea with no niche, with no void, with no opportunity within. So I niched down into the business podcasts. Okay, there's 300 business podcasts back then. I'm going to get slaughtered like the little lamb that I was if I just launched a business podcast. So I niched down a third time. What if I launched a business podcast interviewing entrepreneurs? Okay, this is getting interesting. There's 7 of them.
Wow.
Do I really, though, Joe? Do I really want to be the 8th best podcast interviewing entrepreneurs?
I wouldn't be.
I wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't want to be. I mean, you're a genius, so you know better than that. But no, I do not want to be the 8th best, which is also the worst business podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. So
yes.
What did I decide to do? What did I decide to do? I looked at those 7 podcasts and I asked myself, those podcasts are great. They're all better than I'm going to be the day that I launch. So what's something missing? What's a void that's not being filled within those 7 business podcasts interviewing entrepreneurs? What is an opportunity? What is a problem that they're really not solving right now? And Joe, and I sat down and thought about it. I said, they're all once a week. And my biggest complaint is that I've got to wait 7 days for the next episode to go live after the episode publishes. I'm not complaining about their content. It's fantastic. Their guests are fantastic. The show is fantastic. I'm complaining about the fact that I got to wait 7 more days to get inspired again by a successful entrepreneur. Where's the show that comes out 7 days a week that has an episode waiting for me when I wake up in the morning? I'm about to drive to work. I'm about to hit the gym or do any number of things. Where's that show? Where is the show that I can just know and count is going to be waiting there for me? So, Joe, I decided to launch the first daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. Now, what did that do? That meant the day that I launched, I was the best daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. I was the worst daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. I was the only daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. But going back to the whole point of this conversation, I was the best solution to a real problem. There were other people in the world like me that wanted a daily podcast. And when I launched the first and only, I was the only option in town. I was the only game in town. So even if people didn't like my voice, they had no other option but to listen to my show. And by the way, I was a bad podcast host, so I tried to say as few words as possible. I would bring brilliant people on my show, ask them questions, and step the F out of the way so that they can then go ahead and share their genius. Like, that was the goal. That was the focus. And it worked until I was, putting in enough reps, like actually doing the work to get a little bit better every single day, doing 7 a week, 30 a month, 365 a year. By the way, while my competitors were doing 50 a year, like, who do you think won that equation? Who?
Oh, yeah. Just sheer volume alone gave you a market space that nobody could touch.
That, and gave me a skill set that nobody could touch. Who's going to be a better basketball player? Somebody that goes into the gym once a week, or somebody that goes in every single day and works on their game?
Right. The person with the reps. The person with the reps is always going to take it. Right. And I love that. You mentioned in the book, as I went through it, you started talking about the music industry. They know how to pump up a person. They know the right things to do. As an entrepreneur, you said you hired a virtual assistant, right? I'm not giving out any of the secrets of his
all
book.
the way. I don't care.
Right. Yeah. So, but you said you hired a virtual assistant to handle your social media, right? And then when you did that, is that because now you have, I know you created time for yourself so that you can do that, but is that because social media wasn't an expertise, or it was just the largest piece that needed to be taken off your plate?
Joe, I'm a simple guy. I'm a simple guy, brother. I was an Army officer for 8 years, went to Iraq. I was a tank commander in charge of 4 tanks and 16 men. I knew exactly what to do to go out that day and complete that mission. I knew nothing else. I didn't know how to fly the helicopters. I didn't know how to supply the gas to my tanks. I didn't know logistically how to feed the troops. We have people that were doing those things. I knew how to command my platoon of 4 tanks and 16 men. That's it. When I became an entrepreneur, I took the same attitude. I said, there's only going to be, at most, a couple things that I am truly good at in this world. There's only going to be a couple things that I am good at. I am going to do those things over and over and over again. I am going to say to myself that every time I'm not doing one of those 2 things is a waste of my time. So how do I take that off of my plate and put it onto the plate of somebody on my team, or outsource that to an independent contractor, or whatever that might look like? So whenever I found myself like trying to, move my widgets from the left side of my website to the right side, I'm like, this is 100% not your zone of genius. This is not your zone of fire. What are you doing right now? Stop it. You should be doing these 2 things: interviewing people for your flipping podcast, or being interviewed by other people to spread your message, your knowledge, your voice with the world. Are you doing one of those 2 things right now, John? If the answer is yes, which I can say yes to right now, gold star. If the answer is no, get a clue, get a team, outsource, unload it from my plate.
Fantastic. To comment with that too, I was asked on Clubhouse the other day, so it seems to be the only place I'm at now is in Clubhouse. But somebody asked, what is the zone? Like you said, stay in your zone of genius, stay with there. And I quoted as this, and I challenge you to say you got a better definition because you kicked Scott's butt, right? Yeah. I said it's where passion meets action, and then time disappears. That's how you know you're in your zone of genius, is because everything goes away and you are just stuck doing what you do.
Yeah, I think I can better that a little bit, because I think you're missing one small ingredient. It's not a small ingredient, but you're missing one ingredient that I think needs to be accompanied to that might just be obvious to you, but unfortunately, what's common sense is not common practice. And so it needs to be said when you're talking about this stuff. Let me take a step back and then we'll complete this thought process here. So number 1, listen, you have on the left-hand side over here, okay? You have your passions, you have your excitement, you have your enthusiasm over here. Like, these are things that fire you up. To be very clear, that alone, that might just be a hobby, because it's just you being excited about it. So what you also need to be thinking about is saying, okay, on the right side, what skills do I have? What knowledge have I acquired over the years? What expertise do I have? What, and this is the key sentence, value can I add to the world? So now you have the left side, very important side, the passions, the excitement, the enthusiasm. The right side, expertise, knowledge, skills, value. Then you've got to take those 2 sides, commingle them together. You need to find the places where your passions merge with your skills, where your enthusiasm commingles with your knowledge and value you can give to the world. That middle place, that's your zone of fire. That is where now you can take your passion and your value that you can also provide to the world and take action in your zone of fire and win. Because listen, until you go back to that sentence that we talked about at the beginning, until you are providing the best solution to a real problem, nobody's really, we're getting a little background there.
Sorry, feedback. Yep.
Until you are providing the best solution to a real problem, nobody is really going to care that much. They'll be happy for you that you're off and doing your thing, but they won't care enough, because people want solutions to their problems. So what I think you're missing a little bit is, yes, passion and action, but there has to be value. There has to be problems being solved within that zone of fire. Otherwise, that action you're taking, it might just be a hobby.
Wow, fantastic. Oh, wow. I have to give it to you, John. You actually went up to my answer.
I'm going
to take that. That's a wonderful thing.
I just added a little bit to it.
Yes.
Which, again, I think you assumed was already there, because it's just, again, it's called the the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge is when we've been in this game for so long. We know it. We know you got to provide value and knowledge and expertise. Like it has to be there. But we have, especially like you're in a clubhouse, you're talking, you have to say it. You have to say it because it's going to be part of what you're sharing. Otherwise, people might miss that. And they might miss what is really the important ingredients. Is what you're bringing to this world something that you have knowledge, skills, expertise on? Is it really providing real value, a real solution to a real problem? That has to be part of the equation.
All right. So my brother threw it to you. So
Frank, listen, bro, much appreciated. Your free book is in the mail for that.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you have the 17-step roadmap that you lovely showed the cover just a moment ago. Now, what I want to know is that as an author myself, you go through, you create a book. You're trying to take everything out of your head and put it in, make sense, right? There's always one thing that you knew had to be in the book. It's the thing that you said, this is, if anything gets across to people, it's got to be this one. What's the favorite one? What's the one that JLD says, boom, if you're going to read one of the 17 steps, you better be reading this one.
Have you ever smelled your book before, Joe? Just like,
yes, I have. Yes, I have.
It just smells so sweet because you know that this is 10 years of sweat, of blood, of tears, of failure. And it's all in this one book. And it's just like, what? And it just smells so good. But listen, this book is 71,000 words.
Wow.
The average chapter in this book, Joe, 3,550 words. Very average size for chapters. Chapter 7, step 7, 13,500 words.
Wow.
That could be a business book in and of itself.
Absolutely.
It's just chapter 7.
That's enough of a script to make a Netflix series.
Oh my God. Netflix originals are calling my door every single day. But listen, step 7, chapter 7, design your content production plan. That chapter is such a beast because it has to be. Let me tell you the reality that I knew that our content production plan was really good before I wrote this book. It used to be terrible. My content production plan used to be terrible. Now I knew it was good before I wrote this book. Then I wrote that chapter and I'm like, it's actually fantastic. And like, again, this isn't me like bragging about my content production plan. It's me learning from 3,000 successful entrepreneurs and taking their genius, putting it into my business, into my book. That's why it's so awesome, because I listen, I learn, and I implement. And there's a reason why for 91 months in a row, we've had a net profit of over $100,000 for 91 months in a row. It's because our content production plan is fantastic. It used to be terrible. Now it's fantastic. And writing this chapter, this 13,500 word beast of a chapter, made me realize, Joe, just how true that is and how important. I knew it was important. I knew it was good. Now it's just like, it slapped me in the face. Like, this is why so many people are failing, because so many people are just looking at their content production plan right now. They're thinking about it. And let me just cut through the chat for you.
Please.
Your content production plan is terrible. It's terrible. And that's okay, because mine was terrible too. So there's hope for you. It took me 10 years to get to a fantastic content production plan. It took a long time, a lot of failure, a lot of mistakes. Again, I'm just a dumb army guy. Like, I had to learn the hard way. Okay. But now it's fantastic, which means yours can be too. It might take you a little hard work. It might take you 13,500 words worth of work to get through chapter 7, step 7, to actually identify what your content production plan needs to look like. And then for the first time in your life, design a fantastic content production plan. It's here for you. But Joe, this is a theme I want to talk about real quick. Like, this book, this doesn't say the complicated path or the hidden path or the secret path, okay? This is the common path to uncommon success, because I'm a common guy. I'm just your hardworking, common guy that makes mistakes, that learns from them, and that keeps running through doors, and I don't learn my lessons, and that's okay. But I do want to make sure that you realize it doesn't say the easy path to uncommon success. Because the common path, Joe, and you know this because you're a flipping hard worker, it's hard to build your dream business. Building Entrepreneurs on Fire, was hard work. Having Joe built what he's built over the years has been hard work. But you know what else is hard? Being broke.
Yeah. Sucking at life. Yeah.
Looking at life. I'll quote you there. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Living paycheck to paycheck, waking up every single morning, looking in the mirror and being disappointed because you're not achieving what you know you're capable of.
Right.
That's hard too. And by the way, I lived that life, that reality for 6 years. So again, I'm speaking from experience. My content production plan sucked. Now it's great. Yours currently sucks, but it can be great. Like, this is a process. Like, it is, you want to be able to look in the mirror and say, listen, I know that building my dream business is going to be hard, but I also need to understand and realize that the other path, the second of two choices I have, there's only two choices. The other path I have, it's also hard. Being broke, living paycheck to paycheck, sucking at life. Both paths are hard. And by the way, I've been down both paths and they are both hard. Choose your hard. Choose your hard. Are you going to choose the hard path of building your dream business, of building financial freedom and fulfillment? Or are you going to choose the hard path of continuing to be broke, unfulfilled, and disappointed in yourself? Like, it's your choice.
Absolutely. I'm in complete agreement. I mean, I just lost weight, right? So
how much?
50 pounds total.
How much you going for total?
That was my goal, was 50. Okay.
So you hit the goal. Are you going to hit
my goal? Yeah, and I've kept it off for 30 days so far.
Okay, so, that's still early days. We need to talk to the year. Got to talk to the year. What is the big thing that you made shift-wise to lose 50 pounds? What was the one biggest needle mover?
So the biggest needle mover was my identity associated with food. Now, I had a friend of mine literally 12 years ago told me, as soon as you think of food as fuel for your body, it's no longer about the pleasure of eating. It's no longer about, ooh, but that tastes good, I want to do it. Start treating it as actual fuel. And so I stopped. I got an allergy test and found out that everything that I enjoyed to force down the pie hole was causing me to swell. And causing me to, it was not anything.
Water and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. And so it was just, it was bad.
Believe me, it's going to be weird that somebody that's on here to tell you to buy my book is going to tell you about another book right now.
Okay.
But the pleasure trap, it will change anybody's life right now that just is going through that mentality that Joe's talking about. The pleasure trap. Read it. You're welcome.
Perfect. Ken's saying you flipped the interview now. It's all you interviewing me.
When you interview 3,000 people, it's hard not to flip the script because.
Well, I also had to hear you say earlier, John, that some people just sit back and let other people talk. I was like, no, I'm jumping in.
I said that in this interview?
Yes.
Ooh, look at you. Listen, I like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got what's the difference between people that have the idea versus people that actually implement the idea, right? What is it that's in their brain?
If you're asking me a question right now, listen, accountability is everything. Step 5 and step 6 of this book right here. Step 5 is finding the right mentor, not what everybody else does, which is they just find the wrong mentors. I teach you how to find the right mentor for probably the first time in your life. And number 2, I teach you how to run or join a successful mastermind. That's step 6. This is, again, I'm telling you, like, Joe, I know you've been in some great masterminds. I promise you, every one of them has been run incorrectly. Like, I'm not saying they were bad. They were beneficial to you, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But they could have been so much better. And after you read this chapter in this book, you'll know why. Because I've been in some great masterminds, hypothetically, and they've been good for me, but they could have been so much better. And when I was finally exposed to, like, how to run a great mastermind. Again, this isn't me. This isn't my knowledge. This is me learning from the best geniuses in the world and just sharing my learnings with you. When I finally learned how to run a successful mastermind, like, everything changed for me. And like, everybody is in a mastermind that is not being run correctly because there is a very specific, intentional way to do it right. And then every other way you're doing it wrong. And by wrong, I mean, keep doing it because guess what? You're still getting benefit out of it. But if you want the best, if you want to be part of a mastermind that's going to give you the best value, the best bang for your buck, this is the way to do it. And if you don't, if you just want it to be like, a happy-go-lucky meeting up with your buddies, people that you like, and having a conversation, occasionally, keep doing that, because that's not a negative. It's a positive that you're doing that. But if you want the best way to do it, accountability. That's everything. And that's honestly how you're going to keep your weight off for an entire year, is accountability. Because otherwise, as much as you want to think you might have flipped that switch in your brain, and you have for a certain time frame, your brain's always going to be beating down that door. And eventually it's just, you get tired. The bandwidth is just, finally the floodgates go down, and you do this and you do that. And it happens. And again, Joe, maybe you're going to be the 5% of people that actually keep the weight off. Maybe you will be. I'll tell you, that percentage goes way up when you actually have meaningful accountability.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the book launch, right? Because we're getting all the comments on the side of everybody going, oh my gosh, I need the book. I need the book. I need the book. And I think we've done a great job at explaining that everyone needs the book. Okay. And so let's talk about the book launch itself. Let's talk and say how it is you're getting all this out there in the world. I shared an Amazon link to the book in here. It's got Kindle version. I was so excited for the audio version, so I could flip it right now and put it on.
It's this very questionable voice right here. Did the entire audio book.
The one other people have listened to for 3,000 interviews. Come on. It's like, I'm just listening to my buddy John talk to me. That's the perfect
crazy
thing.
But listen, This is the reality, okay? I hope I've done a good job this episode explaining that, like, I'm just a dumb Army guy. I was in the military. I learned discipline. I learned focus. I learned productivity. I applied that to entrepreneurship. And, I was really bad at everything that I've ever done the first 100 times, but I keep putting in the reps. I keep doing the thing until I get a little bit better. And Renee, I love it, brother. You're going to buy several copies of it for gifts for clients and friends. You are the man. UncommonSuccessBook.com. Look forward to seeing you there, brother. I'm just your average Joe. I'm just a guy that's willing to work really hard to get good at something, and I don't stop. I don't quit. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. That's just how I am. And if that's resonating with you, you want this book in your life, not because of the fact that the guy who wrote it, me, has been running this podcast that has over 3,000 episodes, over 100 million listens, 1.4 million monthly listens, has been running a multi-million-dollar a year podcast business for 8 years in a row. Like, my credentials are fine, whatever, but it's the 3,000 geniuses that I interviewed over the past decade that went into this brain, that went into this business, that went into this book to really boil down, Joe, the 17 core foundational principles that successful entrepreneurs possess. That's it. There's 17 of them. I put them in a chronological step-by-step roadmap that will get you to financial freedom and fulfillment. This book comes with a beautiful PDF companion guide. This book comes with an amazing video course that I created that's completely for free that joins you along this process. And it's $25 for the hardcover. It's $16 for the Kindle. It's $15 for the audiobook. And you're getting a decade of my hard work, of my blood, sweat, and tears, thousands and thousands of hours that I've done speaking with the world's most successful entrepreneurs, boiled down into one book. It's available for you, UncommonSuccessBook.com.
Go there, get the copy of the book. You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the generations to come within your family. Mike Forster is who connected us, John.
Thanks, man.
Just wanted to say thank you to Mike again.
Such a generous soul.
I know you're swamped and you're booked for your next one. I don't want to be the reason you're late. So I want to say thank you so much, and I appreciate you here on The Sales Genius. And everyone, head over to Entrepreneur on Fire, start listening, and get yourself the Uncommon Success book at UncommonSuccessBook.com. You owe it to yourself.
You're the best, brother. Thanks,
everybody. Okay, that was impressive. And let's go ahead and end the broadcast. Thanks, everybody. Be good. Remember, video. You're getting a PDF and you're getting the book. Go do it, right? And then get out there and sell something.